So it's been 3 years since Issues has released any music, and from what the band has been talking about on Twitter, it has been quite an eventful 3 years. Now, today on the day that I'm recording this, Issues released their latest song, Tapping Out. And, personally, I thought the song was fine, I find it like it's a decent song, find it decent. I'm gonna go more into like my pros and cons of the song itself later, but before that, I kind of want to get into my personal gripes. That is just more about like the band members and just like what they were saying somewhat before I get into how I feel about the song. So let's just jump right into it. So first, I want to talk about some old news before talking about how it relates to right now. As we all know, Michael Bond was kicked out of the band. I personally think it was unfairly, but he handled it like a trooper. I can't deny it. He just started a new band with a bunch of other people. It's actually pretty great that he kept it as drama-free as possible. I respect that. But the band kicking their vocalist out, for the live shows, they delegated the screaming parts to AJ and Sky, and Tyler, I guess. And I haven't seen them live since Michael has been kicked out the band, but from what I've heard and been told, that's what it is. And on that new album, I don't know if Sky is doing anything, I don't know if he said anything, but AJ, as we know now for sure, even though I'm pretty sure he said it too prior to Tapping Out coming out, he is doing some screaming on this album too, which is pretty good. I'll praise him later on that. Anyways, my issue is, no pun intended, on Valentine's Day, Tyler Carter did an interview with Rock Sound, and he said that this new album that they're writing is going to be the heaviest thing they write up to date. It's going to be heavier than anything they've written before. And then a fan, maybe ex-fan, I don't know, somebody who definitely was a fan with Michael Bond, and I'm assuming did not like the treatment he got, responded asking, how are you going to have a more metal album without the screaming vocalist? To which the band's Twitter responded, you don't need a screaming vocalist to be metal or heavy, And, I agree with that sentiment. You don't need screaming vocalists to be heavy. That's not the only thing. It requires a lot of things, and if you have enough of everything else, you can lose one thing. So you don't need screaming vocals if you got like some heavy instrumentals and everything to like really bring it down, But then they had screaming vocals on Tapping Out, and I find that kind of annoying, because it's kind of like saying you don't need saxophone to make a jazz tune jazzy, and then have a sax solo in the middle of the tune. I personally think it would have been better if, like this first song, make it either just as, if not heavier than Tapping Out, but no screaming vocals, all cleans, but make it heavy. I think if they were able to do that, then going forward we'd be able to trust that they could definitely do it like without. Because honestly, if they just got rid of Michael Bond and they said creative differences and then like wanted to be heavier, I can see where that fan was coming from, especially if they're still going to have screaming vocals, blah blah blah. Personally, I want to hear, when the album comes out, I want to hear a song that's just as heavy, if not heavier, without screaming vocals. Then I can believe that they can do it. Second, AJ put up a tweet after the song came out. Now, when I first listened to the song and like read the lyrics, from everything that was being said at the time, I assumed that the song, and when I'm saying everything's being said at the time, it's more of like how the band was talking about how they were going through like a lot of struggles. AJ saying that he was like, he almost killed himself and went into like a clinic and then got out and then finished the album, but like the band was going through some like hard times, even like almost close to breaking up. When I read the lyrics to the song, I thought it was deep. I thought it was about the struggles that they themselves as members go through, like with all their the petty drama and the petty petty little stuff that we as fans would just see and be like, yo, that's petty. But for them, it probably is like way worse because it's affecting their lives personally, and it could affect their business and whatever, because music is their business. They want to have fun with it, but music is their business. If something happened and they lose their fans and everything, that's it for them. And I could imagine that that's stressful to, have everything one day and then the next it's just like gone. And I thought that's fine. It makes sense with the band, what they've been going through, and it seems like it would fit from the past 3 years, especially any possible like backlash they got from kicking Michael Bond out, any petty drama that could have happened behind the scenes, any internal band fights, any problems between the management and the band. But then AJ put out a tweet saying that the boys needed to really listen because women are having it tough. And then I reread the lyrics, and I could only see it as a woman in, at best, a stressful relationship, and at worst, an abusive relationship. And personally, that actually made me dislike the song a little more, especially because if AJ, and I wouldn't take AJ's word for it if he didn't actually write some of the lyrics for it, since again he did do some of the screaming, why would it only be the men who would have to do better for the women? It's just more of a equality thing. Like, the man should definitely be doing his best to make his partner feel just as safe and secure in himself and in a loving and committed, comfortable relationship. But it shouldn't be one-sided, because that seems like that's how relationships end, if that love and commitment is only coming from one side. Alright, so now let me go. Now that my personal gripes about more of the background and all that stuff from the band members is done, I'm separating the artist from the song. So here are my pros for Tapping Out. Here's what I liked about Tapping Out. First, I want to say the intro was sick. It's what you'd expect from an Issue song. It was nice and chuggy. It sounded like what you'd expect an Issue's guitar riff intro to sound like. Nice, heavy, down-tuned obviously, and chuggy. It was great. It was pretty sick. It got me into it when the song first started. Now, following that, it went from a nice heavy metal intro to a nice R&B pop style verse the transition from one to the other was so effortless, so clean, so smooth. And in all honesty, I gotta respect them. I always love to praise Issues whenever I talk about them, about how well they're able to just blend genres together like it's nothing. When I tell people that they need to listen to Issues, Home Soon, Mad at Myself, and Stingray Affliction are the first two that come to mind when I think they should listen to get a vibe for the band as a whole. It really gets an idea of how the band can definitely handle everything from the most brutal metal to something as so R&B and soulful, how they're able to work together so well. And transitioning from those two were just great. It was really good. I gotta give them props for that. Doing a clean transition like that isn't the easiest. Now, I went into the comments to see how people felt about the track, because again, it was the first track without Michael Bond. So I went to the comments to see how people felt, and surprisingly, everybody was, digging the song, but a lot of people said they didn't like the vocal effects done to Tyler Carter's voice. And I think during the verse, the style that they were going for, more of that poppy R&B style, I think it worked really well. I think the vocal effects were just fine. I didn't think they were overdone at all. I think, any pitch shifting, pitch correcting, any reverb, the lower octave harmonies or anything, it was done really well. In the first verse, there was the line, "And now the gloves come off and I'm up on the ropes," or something like that. The riff came back for that, and then stopped on ropes. Honestly, I think it worked really well to go along with the lyrics, kind of showing he's slipping. He was going into that rage, but then it went back to his mellow rage that you were kind of getting, but it was slipping a little bit. He was starting to crack under the pressure, but it's not yet. He's keeping it together no matter how much he wants to blow. Musically, that was a good touch to put that in there. I again, respect where respect is given. It's just showing the band working well together with the music writing process. Again, this is something I liked, but I also don't know how I truly feel. But the second verse, the pre-chorus, it was just ride and kick, and that was it in the drums before the snare came in to do a fill to go into the second chorus. But man, that was weird. When I first heard that, I I honestly didn't know what I was supposed to be feeling. Like, I honestly felt a little disoriented because I'm not used to just not hearing no snare when I'm hearing like a cymbal, even if it was just like the bell of the cymbal or like the kick going, but it seemed like the kick was still going, like it was like business as usual. Same with the cymbal, but then there was no snare to like keep it, I guess, to give that sense of like pulse, because typically that's what the snare does in a lot of rock songs. Like, it's either on 2 and 4 or on beat 3, and it can be like other places, but typically you feel like the pulse when the snare's there, and it just, the sense of pulse was just gone. It felt a little disorienting to me, and I loved it. I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. I've never heard a band do something like that, and I gotta respect it. Again, I respect a lot of the musical like techniques and musical ideas that they do in this song, and that was, I guess, for me personally, the most unique. Now, I said I'd come back to this, I think, but AJ killed it with the screaming. I think he just did a really good job. He was like really low, really heavy. I kind of expected him to do a growl, and I wouldn't be surprised if he could like get it, you know? AJ, he did a good job with his screaming. Like, it just, as much as he worked on it, I think it's like showing him doing a really good job, like really owning it, really like perfecting it. And I can't wait to see like where it goes from there and how he kills it on the rest of the album. So yeah, AJ, good job with that. Now the last thing, sometimes the best part of an Issue song is the end, and not cause it's over, but it's because sometimes they just take like the riff and change it somehow. Like, Slow Me Down, they just kept going and just kept slowing it down. It was good. It was so good. And I think this song does like its own thing where it like stays with the pulse. Like, it, I don't know if it shortens it, speeds it up or something, but like it changes it, and it just feels like every hard note hits on the pulse, and it just makes it sound, it sounds like it swings a little. It just works really well. So yeah, now that we got the positives out the way, back to the intro. Like I said, it's what you expect from an Issue song, but at the same time, it's what you expect from an Issue song. It sounds like the intro breakdown riff sounds like some type of combination of the beginning of Slow Me Down and the beginning of Stingray Affliction. It doesn't sound like anything new has been done, going too far out of their comfort zone with that. If it ain't broke, why fix it? I know a lot of people hate when a band changes their style or their sound, but I think Issues, in a way, isn't taking full advantage of the fact that they're good at blending genre sounds, and they kind of just stick with like the basics of the genres that they use, so that when they use gent riffs, it sounds like now a generic gent riff. It used to sound unique, and now it sounds like they're just kind of doing the same thing over. And I think AJ is a good enough guitarist to where he could definitely come up with like, I truly believe that AJ is a good enough guitarist to come up with something, I guess, a little more original in a sense. Now, earlier I said I like the vocal effects, but in reality I only like the vocal effects on the verse because it fit the style. But when it came time for the chorus, they either should have brought down or not used pitch correction at all. During the lines, suffocating, can I get out now, all this drama's bringing me down, there's like a vocal gliss that happens on the out and the down that you hear the auto-tune. And Tyler Carter, with how good of a vocalist he is, I mean, I'm pretty sure, I am certain he'd be able to do that, because it's not like you need to hit actual notes when you're glissing. It just matters where you start and where you stop. So if you land on the right note, you start on the right note, you land on the right note, that's fine. I think at that point you shouldn't use pitch correction, you should just have him sing it again if he didn't land or start on the right pitch. Now the second chorus, it doesn't hit for me. I don't think it does. Like, all that happens is the snare gets brought back in, but like nothing happens to where it feels like the second chorus began. To me, it only seems like I know the second chorus began because the lyrics got restated, but it doesn't feel like anything happened to really signify the second chorus began. It just feels like a continuation of that pre-chorus. Now lastly, I have a problem with a breakdown. Now typically, before a breakdown, there's a build-up. I think one of the best pre-build-ups before a breakdown ever is Die For You by Falling in Reverse, but then it cuts out, like the drums like go a little more simple, just doom, while like the guitars are like playing a riff, but like, you know, they're progressively getting louder, the drums keep hitting more frequently, and then everything cuts out for Ronnie to, you know, say his pre-breakdown vocal, and then it just and I feel like that's what makes a the build up work along with the breakdown, like work really well. Honestly, the best breakdowns have like a little space of silence right beforehand, and then it's just there. It just skyrockets in intensity. Like it's building up intensity, and then it drops it, and then just out of nowhere, boom, you know? And it just doesn't do that because like the instrumental, even though it's not doing like a lot and lots happening, it's like the instrumental for before the breakdown, it's like kind of here, you know, it's just kick and like maybe some bell and hi-hats and stuff, no snare. The guitar is playing like its little riff before it like goes into it. But AJ is like here. He's here while the instrumental's down here. Yeah, about like here. Like his intensity's up here. The instrumental intensity's like right here. And then as it's going through, it like they both drop, but then it just goes up back like up to here. His intensity doesn't change when he comes back in during the breakdown, and I think that did not help it at all. Yeah, overall the song is still pretty good. I can definitely see people enjoying it. Personally, I think it's mediocre at best. If I have to rate it, I just say like 6 out of 10. Yeah, 6 out of 10. Mediocre at best. I think Issues could definitely do better. It's good, but like, you know? But yeah, if you like the song, more power to you. Hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend, and see you when I see ya. Now time for me to promote my music.